what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with all the Flat Earth Debate pre-show and after-show goodness. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum to keep up to date with the community debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Kids decided that it's the best time to start jumping on me is during the intro. So yes, I don't know where the hell I am now with that jumping. So yeah, I'm going to pass over to the live panel as there is quite a multitude of people in there while I set up for the next live show. So hopefully their dulcet tones will keep you entertained while I do exactly that.
$5 super chats and it's the end of the world? Like, are you guys kidding?
Well, I mean,
this has to be a joke.
Well, the other thing too is, I mean, starting a YouTube channel, I can imagine there is an initial investment, which means you're going to do a lot of work with no return, and you have to believe in what you're doing to continue that process, and still even some level of money comes in. It's like starting a business. You have to invest, time, energy, money, until even some level of fruition will even come. So I mean, that's with every channel, with everything. Even YouTube, when it got started, was, that took time and energy. They didn't get any return on their investment until it got started.
Yeah. Anyway, so did we have any? Has there been a response from the Globebusters with regards to the lack of the scientific supporting evidence for the claim? Have we had any feedback on that?
I bet you might see something Sunday if they have their show. You might see something there.
Definitely holding on to his ether, isn't he? I want my ether. Please don't take it away. It's a bit like that Britney Spears kid. Leave Britney alone. Leave my ether alone.
You're stupid.
Somebody made a video about me that was like that. You seen it?
No.
Somebody, if you search Google for, I think it's titled something like "Leave Nathan Oakley Alone," and it's a parody of that guy talking about Britney, but about me.
Really?
Yeah, check it out.
Leave Nathan Oakley alone 8 months ago. He's only had 192 views.
Just play a little snippet of it. We are recording this for the pre-show, but just don't play more than 10 seconds of it, just to give a, just go to a random bit in the middle.
I mean, leave Nathan Oakley alone. I mean, he doesn't listen to people.
I reckon, how long can it be before we can carry on playing the clip?
Nah, that'll do. You heard enough. Leave Nathan alone. It's not like he listens to people. You get the gist.
Nice.
You made it when someone does a parody video against you.
Right, I'm going to get a coffee and stuff, and then live show will be in about, 5 minutes time.
Cool.
I did bring up something. I haven't looked at it in a long time. It's been a long time. I'm thinking about doing this show and being on this show, and it makes me go back and remember all the philosophy I took, read a long time ago. That's why I was thinking about the idea of knowledge.
Don't let the cultural conditioning control. All I see is terrorism on.
Anthony, can you stop playing music? For God's sake.
Copyright strike.
Hi, Lily.
Got an insider. It's going to ruin the channel.
Anyway, if I get back to what I was trying to say is, I pulled up, just looked it up, that there's 6 types of knowledge, from priori to procedural, and it's kind of interesting just reading through those and wondering what how each level of our understanding of the observation, scientific evidence would fit within that framework, and have that as another grid, when we're talking to people. So I'll share the link for what I'm looking at. Didn't stir any conversation. Let's wait till Nathan starts the show.
So you were going to present something, Paul?
I can. I was it's a lot of reading, and I didn't want to just sit there and regurgitate and read stuff. I guess we could read and talk about each topic. It was about the different types of knowledge. I'll bring it up here. Yeah, I got it. This is from Udemy. A priori knowledge, a posteriori knowledge, I guess explicit knowledge, tactat, whatever knowledge, propositional knowledge, and non-propositional knowledge. Have you guys seen that before? Heard about any of that?
Presuppositional knowledge, you say?
Yeah,
I haven't seen this, no.
Oh, I'm. Oh, cool.
Propositional.
Oh, yeah, actually, that's one
That's
thing.
awesome.
Also, yeah.
Descriptive.
I get that.
Our last pair of knowledge theories are propositional, non-propositional knowledge, both of which share similarities with some of the other theories already discussed. I didn't want to just read it.
Knowledge that can...
Oops, sorry. I think it went, sorry.
That's all good.
I dropped the link in the
So
chat.
knowledge that can literally be expressed in propositions.
Yeah, I've listened to a lot of philosophers over the years.
Now I have to read the other ones.
I know. Well, but there's one where logic and reason is actually a form of knowledge. Let's see. I think it's this one. Yeah, this one's it. A priori. It's oh yes, it's what you can derive from the world without needing experience of it. This is a knowledge known as reasoning. Of course, a degree of experience is necessary upon which priori knowledge can take shape. But you can reason out through reason the nature of the world, but you've also got to have some level of understanding of the world to be able to reason that out. And this comes from what's later, comes from what's
wait,
after.
go back up to that for a second.
Yeah.
So it's knowledge that depends on what a person can derive from the world without needing to experience it.
Right. It's like I use the example, if you were in a closed room with no windows and someone asked you what the weather was like, you would not be able to answer them with any degree of truth. If you did, then you certainly would not be in a position of a priori knowledge. It would simply be impossible to use reasoning to produce a knowledgeable answer. I think this falls under the category like we're saying my daughter exists. I think that would fall into the category of a priori knowledge. There's reasoning. I can see her. I can experience her. I know she's there.
Right.
Oh, and it's like, go ahead.
You posted a link to this?
Yeah, I put it in the Hangouts. I thought, yeah, it's in the Hangout.
Read this.
Chat in the
Interesting.
chat Hangout report.
Ranty, what's up, man? Did Ranty say anything?
He didn't say anything then.
No,
He's
we
in
didn't.
though.
I didn't hear him.
There's along the lines of why philosophy is important in the process of even the scientific method or in the scientific means or whatever. I remember somebody reading Stephen Hawking's book on the brief history of time or whatever that book is. I can't remember. But a philosopher read it and picked it apart philosophically, like all his presuppositions were wrong, all the things he did, it just ripped it to shreds, just from a philosophical knowledge base, you know. And so this is kind of funny.
Back. So how come we've not gone live?
What's up, Ranty?
The delay.
We will be in a moment. I'm just getting a coffee and stuff.
Right. Okay.
Are you all ready
Do you know
to
what's
rock
a kick in the
and
dick?
or roll?
What?
You ready to go?
Well, yeah, I suppose.
Well, you sound keen. Let's hope we get a bit more enthusiasm into the housekeeping than yesterday.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you have not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum to keep up to date with the community debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs us alongside each of these shows while they're live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly though, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by UK Truth, The Plain Truth, Sleeping Warrior, Ranty Flat Earth, Paul, Flatten Earth, Chocolate Saying, and Arwin. Good to have you all.
Hey.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Hello.
Hello. Hola.
Good morning.
We're joined by Luke M. How you doing, Luke? Hello, Luke.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey.
Going very well. Thank you for being here. You can join in the housekeeping.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. You know, I was listening to your live broadcast, but I wasn't right up to what you were talking to, and I was wondering, because I never heard you guys talking about the Michelson-Morley experiment. Are you familiar with that?
Sure. Should we do the
Because I
housekeeping
think-
first, Nathan, though?
Sorry, say that again.
Should we do housekeeping first, Nathan?
Yeah, that'd be great. Any signs of curvature?
No.
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 Any signs
Afraid
of...
not, Nathan. No, absolutely no sign of curvature whatsoever anywhere to be found.
Excellent. Far more enthusiastic than on the last show. Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety, Ranty?
Absolutely no sign of axial rotation whatsoever to be found anywhere.
Yeah, and that's what I think the Michelson-Morley experiment scientifically proved, that the Earth does not move.
How do you prove a negative?
Well, the Michelson-Morley experiment, he was the first physicist to receive the Nobel Prize in physics in 1933. And he was well respected, well known. And his experiment, because they were talking about the Earth spinning, right? This is what we've been told. And he said, okay, well, if the Earth's moving, I want to measure it. And so he beamed a light through a prism, and he can measure it to a fraction of a second. The Earth's supposed to be spinning, as we're told, 32 feet per second. His experiment, when he conducted it, showed no movement at all. Nothing. He could detect no movement. So as far as that, his experiment showed the Earth is not moving. Then,
yeah, I agree. But
and then
how do you deal with ballers that claim that it was an ether drag test and he failed to get a positive result, therefore the ether doesn't exist?
Okay, so then that's right. And then Einstein came along and said, "Oh no, the everything matter's contracting, so he couldn't detect movement because everything's moving, and when you move at the speed of light, you can't detect." That's the nonsense that's been perpetrated. So Michelson-Morley's no idiot. He took that exact same experiment, put it on a Lazy Susan, and spun it, and then did the exact same measurement and measured the movement. If you can't measure movement, then his experiment on the Lazy Susan would have shown, again, no movement, but it detected the movement exactly as the speed he spun it. And that's just ignored. So it's a scientific fact this Earth does not move. And in fact, it makes perfect sense because, like you say, like we all can observe when we go outside, nothing's moving. We don't move. The air moves. The solar stars above us move, but we're not moving.
Not a scientific fact. It's not been established with any sort of scientific validity. You can say the Earth is obviously stationary, fine, I agree. But to say it's been scientifically verified to not be moving is nonsense. It's just not the case. So the experiment, you're conflating terms when you say they're measuring and then say in the experiment. Well, experiments aren't performing mathematics. They're establishing the cause of an effect by varying the presumed cause of the effect. Well, if it's to be asserted that in this experiment it's disproving that the Earth moves, well, that would be an assumption that you can vary and manipulate the presumed cause of that effect. Well, if you can let me know how anything's being varied to determine that Earth is or is not moving, then I'd love to hear it. But I absolutely assure you that this also falls outside of science. So to declare it as a scientific fact is unreasonable. It's an axiom, it's obvious, yeah, but it's not science. Sorry.
Well, when he if you look at the like I've read the experiment and I've seen his drawings of the experiment, and he can measure movement. Like we're very good at measuring movement. I'm sure you'd agree. Like if a car's moving at 50 miles an hour, there's many different ways to establish that movement. And
is that measuring? Sorry, just need to clarify something with you, Luke. And is that measuring of something, maths or science?
Well, I'm confused at your question. So what I mean to say is if a vehicle is moving, you know, when you put the whiteboard and you put the black and the white, and if a movement moves between those 2 points and you know the measurement of those 2 points, you can definitively track speed and movement, right? And if the Earth is moving, it would be detectable. You would be able to, his experiment was able to detect motion within a fraction, of high probability, like very, very accurately. That experiment, when he stuck it on an object that he did physically move, was able to detect that movement. But it wasn't able to detect movement when it was just placed on a stationary table.
Yeah, that's not an experiment.
Well,
it's an interesting bit of kit, and it's an interesting interpretation. But what was the presumed cause in his experiment?
well, what he had was a beam of light that he stuck between a prism, bounced it off two mirrors that were at different spaces, and then they bounced back to a single point. If if our celestial body was moving, he was going to be able to detect it. It showed nothing, so he detected no movement. But then the theory was said that it was contracting, and light moves at the speed of light, and the theory of relativity that negates that, so he wouldn't have detected any motion. That's what the explanation was given.
I see. Can I ask a question then? Sorry, Luke. So, did he also detect no unicorns?
Well, if you say, like, if you and I were driving in my truck, and I said, "Oh, we're driving," and you say, "Well, I don't know if we're moving," you can do an experiment to detect how fast or if we were moving at all.
That wasn't my question. In the quote-unquote experiment, were any unicorns detected?
No, he wasn't looking.
So hold on. So it's proof of non-existent unicorns. Then it disproves unicorns because it didn't detect them.
Well, it was detecting. He was looking to see. He wanted to measure if the Earth's moving. He wanted to know how fast it was moving. That was what his experiment was.
Okay,
to do.
so if I rerun the test but assert that I'm detecting unicorns, does that make it valid that I've disproved unicorns with this quote-unquote experiment? Because I'm going to declare I'm testing for unicorns by spinning a light at different speeds in different directions.
Well, of course not. No.
So why would you assert that it disproves that we have Earth turn?
Well, the only explanation I can give you is if it was turning or moving, it would be detectable. You'd be able to measure it.
I agree. But what I'm saying is the fact that a piece of measuring equipment didn't detect something isn't proving the cause and effect, so it's definitely not an experiment, and it's unreasonable to declare non-existence based on this quote-unquote experiment. In the same way it's unreasonable for me to declare I didn't detect unicorns. Now, that's not to say that I'm asserting the Earth does turn, far from it. I'm just saying it's not reasonable to assert it with scientific validity when it's not science, because it isn't. Super chat from Colin Cherner. Thank you very much for smashing the super chat, Colin.
Oh, sorry about that. I didn't mean to talk over you. But if you wouldn't it be logical to assume if that apparatus is designed to detect non-movement or movement, to show that would detect that, you would have to move what you're trying to detect to see if that's actually doing that effect. Would that not be logical? So, so if you're saying their apparatus is designed to detect movement, you would have to move it to show that it's detecting it. It's like me, a thermometer, it can measure the temperature. If I crank up the temperature, the thermometer will rise. If I reduce the temperature, the temperature will drop. So I could just show that it's measuring something. So wouldn't that be another aspect of that? If you're going to use a measuring device, which would be that apparatus, wouldn't you have to do both, like to show it's trying to detect that motion? You understand what I'm trying to say? Does that make any sense?
Well, the way I look at it is if I have a radar gun that gives me a speed of an object moving, and I point it at a vehicle that's parked, and I get no detection, I think it's accurate to assume that it's not moving. But if I take that same body and then move it and point that same device at it and get I can now measure something. I think it's correct to assume that is a valid scientific experiment, because when he stuck that same apparatus on a merry-go-round and moved it, he did detect accurately the movement of that. So I don't know. I think it does follow the scientific experiments to show something.
Well, he showed the rotation of the apparatus, but not the actual rotation of the Earth. That's my point. You would have to either start rotating the Earth to show that apparatus would detect.
Independent variable cannot be a man-made device, but as far as I got it from John eventually, you can still use equipment as detection equipment, measuring equipment, to basically confirm it, as long as the independent variable itself is not man-made.
Right. The phenomena that you are studying has to be occurring in the physical and natural world, because if you've got a man-made device and you're trying to figure out the cause, then man making the device will always be the cause of that effect in every single instance. So that's not what science is interested in. Naturally occurring phenomena. Step 1 of the method. Observe a phenomena. Then you formulate hypothesis and assume what the cause of that phenomena you observed in step 1 actually is. You also formulate a null to the hypothesis. That is to say that it is the complete contrast of your presumed cause. If I have this, my presumed cause, then I cause the effect. Your null being, if I have this, the cause, then there is no effect or zero difference. I do not cause the phenomena to occur. So that is what you have in a hypothesis. You'll either, when you go forward to experiment stage, which absolutely can and does most times include man-made equipment, but what you are essentially doing is varying the presumed cause of the effect. And if you vary the presumed cause and it causes the effect, then you invalidate your null, which is to say that you did not get zero difference. You caused the effect, validating the alternative hypothesis. So that is a successful experiment. So when you declare that you point a radar gun at something, take a measurement, and that's performing science, it's almost offensive to me, because that's not science. You're not varying the presumed cause of a phenomena you have observed. You're measuring the speed of a man-made device with a man-made device. So it means nothing in terms of science. It's a very useful measurement. It doesn't mean I deny the technology used in radar guns. It just means it's not science. It's not proving the cause of an effect. That's it.
Okay. No, I understand what you're saying, Nathan. Okay, well, I actually did do a scientific experiment. I was deducing that we're told space is a vacuum. I theorized that if you had a rocket or a propellant inside of a vacuum and you discharged it, there's nothing for it to push against. And so I surmised that you couldn't move in a vacuum. That if you were, in fact, inside an endless vacuum, you would not be able to move from one point to another with the technology that we've been told we have, or NASA has, or whatever. So I took a 5-foot long, 6-inch clear tube. I put a solid rocket model rocket inside of it. I drawed down a near perfect vacuum, and I filmed it, and I discharged the rocket, and it fired, but nothing happened. The rocket didn't move, and that was a scientific experiment that I conducted, and I did it with my kids. And then we put the rocket back in the same tube, did not have a vacuum, and fired it, and it did exactly what you would expect. It exploded, blew the back end of it out. So I believe I correctly proved that you cannot move with a solid rocket propellant inside of a vacuum.
So that would be a demonstration of your assertion that a rocket cannot propel itself in a vacuum. It's not a scientific experiment, because you're not observing a naturally occurring phenomena and then trying to establish the cause of said phenomena. So it's definitely not science. I'm sure it's an epic demonstration, and I'd love to see it. If you can present it, that'd be absolutely fantastic. If not, Arwin absolutely loves looking up videos and presenting them to the audience.
Okay, yeah, I'll send you the video in this chat. I think I can do that.
Perfect.
That was hilarious.
So the other thing I'd say is it Luke?
Yes.
The other thing I'd say, Luke, is that's an excellent argument, and I've heard it put forward many times, and the demonstrations are also equally excellent. However, and don't take this badly, it's not an argument that I would put forward, and I'll tell you why. The reason I wouldn't put it forward is because it automatically underlines the fundamental premise that we do have a second law of thermodynamics violation in the sky. Just bear with me a second. I'm going to go on mute while I just ask my kid, or I won't bother. Eleanor, please don't do that. Please. That probably won't work. So it basically kind of begs the question for them. So when you do that, you're working on the premise that there is a region in the sky that defies the second law of thermodynamics. But in that imaginary region, you're testing the premise of whether or not in a region that can't possibly exist, whether or not rockets would work. So for me, it's just as simple as saying you can't have gas pressure without a container. You don't necessarily, as you are doing in your example, begging the question for them, assuming that space is a region that rockets could potentially go to, and then debunking the notion that rockets could travel through that region that you've begged the question for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I get it.
It doesn't change that I'd still love to see it. I've seen it before, but it's cool, right? I've seen people do it with just as simple as a vacuum. So they let off the rocket with a vacuum right next to it, i.e. like a vacuum hose. And then they just, if you're sucking the air away from the discharge of the rocket, nothing happens, right? It goes into the vacuum. It fills the space.
Right. Yeah. I just find, you're right. It's an observation. But what we're being told, in my mind, it just solidifies that what we're being told is definitely not. I just can't reconcile it being the truth,
Indeed. I mean, it's a terminology issue as opposed to a validity issue. It doesn't mean that some people who have observed something and just simply declare what they observe. For example, there's the north end of the Isle of Man on screen right now. Well, that's observe and declare. Well, is there something suddenly fundamentally wrong with declaring a concrete noun? No. If it's obviously what you say, then there's no issue. Nobody's ever going to disagree with that. Now, I can say that with confidence now, having studied exactly what that particular piece of land is to the point of nausea. So I'm happy to declare that that is the north end of the Isle of Man on screen right now. Concrete noun, piece of land, we do see it, it is there. Same as this boat and Barrow Inverness behind it. It is there, we do see it, it's all in the frame of the picture. The Earth is obviously and observably flat. Those sorts of declarations aren't a stretch. It's not an outrageous claim to say boat in the distance, right? It's distance being irrelevant until you push it far enough for it to not be seen on a reified model and then turn it into science, i.e. a phenomena. So without having observed a phenomena, then we're not doing science, because that's all we're interested in if we're performing that method, the physical and natural world. So beyond that, unfortunately it doesn't mean that your demonstration is any less valid, if you are to get into begging the question about the vacuum that can't exist in the sky.
Right. No, I get it. I understand. And I appreciate your consistency and your accuracy and the way that you present those arguments, because I listen to you all the time and I think it's awesome. Are you aware of that? What are those? A surveyor surveyed, I think, in Huntington Beach, 137 miles, and he certified it as level as a surveyor. And he says, "I'll give you 20 grand. Anybody can come down here and show me some curve."
I didn't know that. Where can we find that?
I think if you just search on YouTube $20,000 surveyor, I think it'll come right up. I just saw it a few days ago.
Well, this is a really good moment for me to plug Roxanne's channel, because she's actually interviewing that guy and premiering it tonight from 8 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. So check out Roxanne, the Globalist Denier. That exact guy that you're referring to, 20 grand, she's interviewing him.
Give me a link. Give me a link. Give me a link to the premiere, and I'll spam it in the audience chat.
It's not. She hasn't uploaded it yet. I just know that it's coming on at 8 p.m. tonight. So just keep your eye on Roxanne's channel. It's going to be very interesting because this guy's totally unknown to us. Nobody knows who he is. His name's Howard. And big shout outs to Roxanne for spotting this guy and getting him on. So,
okay, so I'll do a proper shout out for a channel then. So it's Roxanne, the Globalist Denier. That's her YouTube channel name. So check it out. 8 p.m. UK time. it'll have gone out yesterday when this goes out to the Nathan Oakley 1980 audience. So that's only applicable if you're watching this live on Nathan Oakley channel. But for the Nathan Oakley 1980 audience, check out Roxanne, the Globalist Denier YouTube channel, and you can check out an interview with that chappie and his massive flat plane that we all dwell atop. I don't know if Ranty's got anything to add to this, because, I mean, of all of us, I think Ranty's gone out and observed the flat plane we dwell atop more than anybody, right, Ranty?
I have, yeah. Yeah, it's there's going to be a lot more seen soon as well in the next couple of months. Got so much stuff coming up, it's going to be awesome. I was going to go live tonight, but Anthony's just told me that at 8 o'clock, Roxanne's doing her live premiere. That's a bummer, because that's the time I'd scheduled to go live.
I've said this to you, I said this to you last time, Ranty. I've just published my upload schedule. What you need to do is just get a little diary planner and just pick a day that you're going to do an upload and a live show. So it's only 2 a week, but then you can dedicate your time to getting your really slick edited presentation ready for a Tuesday evening at 5 p.m. and then every Thursday at 10 p.m. or whatever time you decide, you go live and you just have an upload schedule. That's what I did, you know, with a bit of help from Anthony. You know, and it's massively served me well, you know, so I would just suggest, even if it's only a couple of dates in the week, you know, you've got an upload schedule of 2, 1 live, 1 not live, but just stick to it, and then it doesn't matter. I said the same exact thing to Arwin, you know, get a time that you're going to do your show. Arwin decided it was going to be daily, so I was like, pick a time daily, and don't worry about what anybody else does, stick to your schedule.
Yeah, I think I'll go live at 7 tonight as well. I do want to talk about it. So that's the issue. See, I'm away at Scotland next week. So I'm leaving tomorrow evening. So this will probably be the last chance I actually get to do a live stream. But there's some things coming up, and I'm looking for. I think you're coming down to North Wales, aren't you, Anthony? I sent you the message and you said you would.
Yeah, I've said I would. I can't remember. Yes, I'm coming. I can't remember the dates if I'm honest, but yes, I'm coming.
Right, because obviously if anybody lives in North Wales and wants to actually come down, or from Liverpool or anything like that, it's not that far. And I am going to be doing an observation down there. It's going to be fantastic. We've got a fishing boat. The skipper's going to be able to go 10, 12, 15, 20 miles away, wherever he wants, have communication with him. You come back, go forth. We've got all the heights, all the dimensions. We've got all kinds of stuff, infrared. We've got P1000s, P900s, drones, you name it. It's all going off. So if anybody wants, this is what I'm going to be talking about tonight on my stream. But I want to see if anybody wants to actually meet me there, you know, and we can just go down and do the observations and stuff. So it should be cool.
Cool.
I had an observation experiment that I thought would be pretty cool. Was if you had 2 boats and 1 person on a shore, and you sail the boat out or drive the boat out until the person on the shore just got out of sight, and then had the second boat from that location go as far until that middle boat couldn't see the second boat. So you got 1 boat where the person in the middle can see the person at the shore and then see the other boat, and you could see from when you go to the horizon where you can't see, where some people try to say, oh, that's the curve, or they try to say, oh, it's refraction that lets you see. But if you go to the next boat, I guarantee you all 3 people could see each other if you had a powerful enough telescope or a laser. That was my prediction.
Yeah, I think you know, doing any observations from the shoreline when you've got the tide coming in and out, unless you actually do it at exactly high tide or exactly low tide, when you've got the tides pushing in and receding, that's the best time to do your observations, because any other time you are going to get localized bulging because you'll have the tide trying to push in, you know, right. And that is going to increase the height of the water at the shoreline. It's just the way things work. But if you was on a boat a mile out to sea and you had another boat along that was also a mile out to sea, but if they were, say, 10 miles apart, they wouldn't be suffering that same kind of pressure up against the shoreline. So, yeah, I think I know where you're coming from, but I have a feeling that you could probably have someone on shoreline trying to view a boat 10 miles away. And when when you can no longer see them, I would imagine if you had boats that were 10 miles apart, you would be able to see them. But from the shoreline, you wouldn't. Right.
Are you familiar with the naval naval rocket commander. I can't remember his title. I listened to an interview with him, and he was on a naval ship, and he was hearing about flat Earth, and he thought they were crazy, and he dismissed them. But then they were talking about, you know, how you can see and what the curve is supposed to be. And he actually fires rockets or teaches the people to how to fire missiles from ship to attack another ship. And he was saying with his optics, he says, I can easily see line of sight a ship 50 miles away. He says, I can target with a laser and fire missiles at a ship line of sight 50 miles, which, of course, if we're told what the curve is supposed to be, that's impossible.
Yeah, I mean, I've filmed a boat that was 29 miles away, so I have no doubt that's possible. Like I say, but all of the observations that I've done up to now currently have been from the shoreline. But the best observations are when there's very still water. So Red Pill Philosophy released a video where it was super calm, super calm, and he saw for forever. It seemed like he filmed forever, shore to shore. And this is what we're finding, that water being a liquid should be affected by the gravitational force of the Earth. So it should curve. So you can't have days when gravity doesn't decide to work. It just doesn't happen. But when you get very still water, it lays flat. It lays completely flat.
Well, that makes perfect sense. Well, first of all, when people try to argue the proof of gravity, this is what I say to them. It is called the theory of gravity. By definition, there must be other explanations to explain the phenomena that they try to contribute to this magical fairy tale force of gravity. It's an improvable thing, because if it was a fact, it wouldn't be called the theory. It's nonsense. There's no fake mystery force field pulling shit anywhere.
No, and Nathan kindly asked me to talk about this. But yeah, whenever I go down and film Barrow or wherever, or look over to the Welsh mountains, you always see an awful lot further when the water is incredibly still. It's just the way it is, and you can't have flat water on a curve.
Without a doubt.
Hey, John, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, just what the last person said, I just caught it. He said, I don't know how he worded it. First of all, there is no scientific theory of gravity, right? That's number one. Number two, all scientific theories are facts. So don't get confused with the colloquial meaning of theory and equivocate that with scientific theory. Whoever that was talking, I don't think I know him.
Luke.
Say again?
Does that make sense, Luke?
No, not really.
Okay, I'll try and rephrase it. Colloquially, when you say theory, it means mystic meg prediction. So the same as a woman in a circus with a crystal ball. That's what we colloquially mean when we say theory. Now, if you're in a scientific context and you say theory, then you mean a scientific theory. And a scientific theory is based on the proven cause of an effect and other proven causes of an effect. In other words, a scientific theory is based on the results of an adherence or multiple adherences to the scientific method. That's a scientific theory. Now, unfortunately, that gets slightly confusing when you have pretender clowns hijacking the terminology and performing the old switcheroo when they colloquially describe something as a theory. So, in the
Theory
case of...
is actually an idea, rather.
Right, an idea of gravity. Yeah, same applies to laws. So this term gets abused by the pretender clowns of scientism, not scientists, because they would just be people performing the scientific method to go on to form scientific theories, but instead people who describe things like gravity as a law. Well, a scientific law would be something that we observe always in nature, Unfortunately for the pretender clowns who declare gravity as a law, there is no observable, demonstrable, obvious law in effect always when describing gravity. So just to summarise, because I went a bit of a tangent there, if you're saying theoretically, and you mean colloquially, we are making a little guess about something, then that's perfectly acceptable. However, when in a scientific context, theory means the proven results of an adherence to the scientific method.
Okay. No, I get it.
You got muted?
No, we can hear you, Arwin.
No, Luke. Luke was talking and then he muted, so...
No, he said he gets it.
I was just saying I understand. That's why I muted it. I just didn't want any background noise on my end, that's all.
To be honest, Luke, your timing is impeccable in terms of... You're a flat earther, clearly, and you're presenting some of the understandings, shall we say, from what I'm now going to call the old school flat earth. And your terminology is akin to that old school flat earth in the respect that you are naming, measuring things and such like as experiments. Now, I've said this many times also, we are all guilty of this. I find myself accidentally doing it from time to time. So it's not that I'm having a go at people, and you're a useful parallel because we're just saying the same thing to you, ironically. Is it ironically or coincidentally? No, coincidentally, as Bob Nodell. So we're saying the exact same things to him, but you're saying, I understand. He's saying no. So it's a great parallel to have you saying, scientifically, I've validated you can't have rockets in space. I've done an experiment. And us say, that's a great demonstration. However, you don't need to beg the question and assume the sky is a vacuum and it's not an experiment. And you've just been willing to go, fine, I get it, great.
No, it makes perfect sense. No, it's right. Like, either we're going to follow the same standards and come to an agreement, and at least we got to have a baseline, and we have to be accurate in that. So I appreciate it.
It's a minor modification. You know, we're so used to saying experiment or saying scientifically when we refer to a measurement. It's just how we've been brainwashed, and it wouldn't work for them to do it, those who are deceiving us, that is, the pseudo-scientists, if we didn't mix up the two terms colloquially, generally anyway. So, you know, it's something that now it's been highlighted. I'm sure this will ripple through the community, if there is such a thing, within Flat Earth, and people will, over time, appreciate the benefit of this.
I think it may be caused by language, futurist language influences. That it's been made common to basically call an idea a theory, or to call a test an experiment. It's like the popularization of the scientific method, but in a cultural way, not in the actual way. And it's very weird what they did.
I'm really sorry to check you on that, Arwin. Sorry to interrupt. I've got to make a slight correction. I'm not being pedantic. This is just factually accurate. Again, if you're talking in a scientific context and you say the word test, then you ipso facto mean a hypothesis test because you're talking in a scientific context.
That is pedantic indeed. But I wasn't actually placing it in the context of scientific, just in the general talk way. People call things a theory while they're ideas.
Sorry, say that again, John.
Game rooster, man. I can go home. Because that's the first thing I thought. When he said test, I said, whoa, it depends on what context you're in. Right? We could be in a university, we could be at school, and they say test. Well, that has a certain meaning. We all know what that meaning is. However, when you're in a scientific context and you say test, well, that's an experiment. Right?
Well, yeah, an experiment is a hypothesis test. So if you're talking about science, then you say test. Well, you mean you're going to be testing something within the scientific context, your hypothesis. So 'cause that's what a test is in science, a hypothesis test. Well, its alternative name, hypothesis test, is experiment. This is where the main issue at the moment lies. People are calling observation and declaration or measurement an experiment, and it's not. And if we're talking, and we are most definitely talking in the context of the physical and natural world when we're talking about the debate about the shape of it, that's science. So as soon as we say test, we mean hypothesis test, aka experiment, unfortunately.
Can you put me on screen, Nath? I want to...
It would be my pleasure, Ranty. It's been a long while.
It sure has. I'm not actually presenting any evidence, but I want to talk about this meetup that I want to do. 23rd of March. So 23rd of March, we have this car park here. This is where I'm going to be doing the observation from. This is where the observations are going to take place. So we've got over here, we've got this estuary that comes out, and this is where the boat's going to leave. So the skipper is going to head over towards the wind turbines here, and then he's going to be, you know, essentially going round the back of the wind turbines, just messing around here, and we'll be walkie-talking or talking on the telephones, and we'll just be discussing where to go, GPS, all this kind of stuff, and we'll be doing the observations from here. Now, the reasons I wanted to do this is because we know that the boat is going to end up going into an inferior mirage. It will start to, you know, that's what will happen as we're trying to view it. And the people on the boat are going to be lowering all kinds of stuff down into the inferior mirage, lights, infrared light, laser beam as well. And I have an infrared camera that will hopefully be able to pick it up. So we've got P1000s there, they've got drones, there's all this kind of stuff going off. So this will be on Saturday, the 23rd of March down here, just in Prestatyn. If you go down from Prestatyn, you just go down to here, and this is the car park where we'll be, say 10 a.m. So if anybody wants to come down and meet us, Tony, you'll be there as well, won't you?
Yeah, where does this fit into the lunar calendar?
This is 2 days after the full moon. So it's all... Cool. So I've scheduled it so that it all fits in perfectly for the best times for the observations. Skipper's happy to do all this kind of stuff. And the good thing is, with him having GPS on his boat, we'll be able to know exactly where he is when the boat's no longer visible, and we'll be able to get some really good data as well with the inferior mirage and stuff. So, and it'll just be a good place to hang out for a few hours as well. So that's where we'll be.
What you want to consider doing is having a word with Dorchi Daka.
Yeah.
He said that next time there's something happening, he wants to know because he wants to be there. So have a chat with him and see if you can get something sorted.
Okay. Yeah, I will do.
Just do a proper plug before you end. Just do a proper plug. Time, date, location, all again.
Okay, so Saturday, the 23rd of March, 10 a.m. At 10 a.m., the boat, or we're hoping that the boat will be able to leave from this location here. So it's going to come out. I'll be talking with the skipper.
Stop. What is that location? What's the exact address?
This is Kimmel Bay. So the boat will be leaving from Kimmel Bay into the North Sea. And here we were down at Beach, just off Beach Road. There's a car park just down here, Beach Road West. The car park on the seafront, 23rd of March, 10 a.m. And this is where we'll all be set up with we'll have telescope, P900, P1000, infrared camera. The guy on the boat will have a P1000 too, so he'll be able to film back at us. There'll also be all kinds of gadgets on the boat as well, so that we can hopefully see through the inferior mirage as well. And that's where we'll be. Is that all right?
Excellent plug. Hopefully you get a whole bunch of people come and join you.
And also, the month after, 2 days after the full moon, I'll be doing I'll be going up to Loch Ness here, and I'll be looking across this stretch of Loch Ness here. And in this particular case, there will be drones with a helicopter, helicopter drones, and there'll also be plane drones as well. And we're going to attach lights and all this kind of stuff on them. We'll have altimeters on them as well. so that from 21 miles away, when they raise up and raise down, and I'm trying to view them with the P1000 from Fort Augustus over here, as soon as I can see the drone itself, let's say it's at 100 feet, I can say, yeah, I can see it. That kind of kills the ball off there, and then, you know, so we can do all kinds of cool observations. The drones will be flying up and down this lock, and yeah, we'll be able to get some good observations done there as well.
Of Nessie.
And hopefully see Loch Ness as well. Loch Ness Monster.
Just a myth.
Hey, Zach.
Very good. Excellent.
So that's what the plans are.
So that people don't just leave this with the with Nessie in their mind. Why Loch Ness? What's significant about Loch Ness that makes it useful, Ranty?
Okay, well, Loch Ness, it's surrounded by mountains, so it's probably the longest stretch of water we have that's basically non-tidal. Obviously, it's surrounded by mountains. It's very long and very narrow, as you can see. And this stretch where the red line here is 21 miles. Now, it's a perfect observation. The P1000 has no problem seeing at 21 miles away. When you get to 30 miles away, it's going to struggle. But 21 miles is just about its limit, really, for actually picking things out and seeing stuff. So having somebody with a drone at this edge here who's able to raise it up and raise it down with a light on is going to be sensational, because I'll be able to see it from Fort Augustus. The fact that it's non-tidal means that I'm hoping that the weather's going to be quite good. We're not going to get a lot of mist over the loch. And I'm trying to time it to the second day after the full moon as well, because that always seems to be the best time for doing observations. So, fingers crossed, we can get some data in this location. It's a long way to travel, I have to say. It really is, because it's in the wilderness. It really is. And it's
I'm going to make a prediction.
Go on.
This is a scientific prediction, just to take the piss out of the ballers. I'm going to predict that for every time the second day after the new moon period is present, when we do any observations, the Earth's flat. But for the rest of the time, because any obstructions curve, it's a ball.
Not a scientific prediction. A scientific prediction would be a hypothesis.
Oh.
Well, yeah. So the reason why I chose this location again, Nathan, it's just completely line of sight from one end to the other. 21 miles of landlocked water. You can't ask for anything more. If there's any kind of curvature going on, obviously water being a liquid, it should conform to the curvature of the Earth. In which case we should not be able to see it at, say, 200 feet in altitude. And because we've got these altimeters on these drones, we'll know exactly the height that we can observe them from one end to the other. And I'm going to make a prediction that we're probably from an elevation of essentially 6 feet. I would say that we're going to probably see the drones easily at less than 100 feet above the water.
Nathan, we need to give Zach a shout out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Zach, are you there, sir?
Yeah, how we doing, gents?
Very good, sir. Long time no speak.
Yeah, I really have a question for John. I have an idea, and I don't know if it's possible
hey, hold
or
on
not.
a second, Zach. I got to go for about 2 minutes. I'll be right back. Hold that thought, man.
Okay, yep, no problem. Love the show, guys. This has been going nice and smooth today. I love it. Besides that first, I don't know, me and Adam had some jokes, but I don't really want to say them out loud over on the air about that gentleman that called. But yeah, he was definitely had no idea what science pertained to or the scientific method, or I couldn't believe you let him go on as long as you did, Nathan. I thought you were very polite, letting him speak his jabberish for the 3 minutes you allowed.
It's cultural science speak.
Cultural science speak.
What's going on?
Why not call it science speak? As in, it's not actually science.
This might create some discussion. I don't know if you saw my screen. I was actually looking at the definition of science, and we can wait till John comes back and answer that question. But as I was looking online, if you look at the basic definition of science, it basically means knowledge. And I think saying science, you could say, well, that's knowledge, but the scientific method is the method of gaining knowledge. And I think, we always say definitions are important. And if you look at the etymology of how we got science, if I can find it, where's it at here? I found this little graph. Where'd it go? Adjective. Looking for the noun. If you look at this little graph here, it starts like, this is kind of how we got to the word science. The first initial part was to cut, to split, to know, to separate one thing. The next one is to know, to separate one thing from another. Then it goes intellect or intelligent, skilled. Then you go knowledge, a knowing, expertness, whatever. Knowledge, learning, application, corpus of human knowledge. And then into the mid 14th century, what is known, knowledge of something acquired by study, information, assurance of knowledge, certitude, and certainty. So I think when we say science, are we saying the whole body of our knowledge? Or are we talking about the scientific method, which is a mean to gain a certain type of knowledge? That's why I think this knowledge thing keeps coming up to me every time we talk. What are we talking about? What type of knowledge are we gaining here? Because every time I think science, I think knowledge. And
well,
if John's listening,
it's the last two words. So do you want to read the very last two words that you just went through on that list?
Sorry.
That's okay.
You want right here?
Sorry, I'm back. What's up?
Yeah, I'll just round out this point, John, and then I think it was good times for all that. I had a question for you. So the last two words, what are they?
Certitude and certainty, whatever. I can't talk today.
Certitude, yeah, and certainty, right? So those two words mean to be empirical. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree.
So the scientific method gives you an empirical result. So the only way to comply to those last two criterion are to have an empirical method.
Right. Well, that's why I was saying that. It's like we should probably need to start saying the scientific method.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, I think we need to start be more specific, saying the scientific method, because generally the word science, knowledge, and even applying it in that frame, like in a sense, I have knowledge that my daughters exist. That's I have certainty and certitude about that. There's no scientific method about it. I just know she exists. You understand what I'm saying?
Right, but we already went over these. I already had a presentation. We're going to do another presentation on science. Science, the root word scientia, and it comes from another. I don't think that's the final root word. I'd have to look it up again in the Latin and the French. It just means knowledge. Just that one term, right? It just means knowledge. However, when you say natural science, then they are more focused on the method to achieve that knowledge. Right? So natural science means something. Now, you have different types of sciences, right? You have what? Computer science. What other types of sciences? Economics. They classify that as a science in some places. What else?
Astronomy.
Yeah, well, that's pseudoscience, but the other ones. We'll just stick with computer social sciences, right? So that means they're just gaining knowledge about that subject area. However, when you say natural science, that has an entirely different meaning. That focuses on the method used to attain that knowledge. You understand? So it's really easy to equivocate.
I get that. And that's actually kind of, I think we need, all I'm saying is I think just saying the word science, it's just the word knowledge. So I think all I'm saying is we need to talk about the scientific method, not just pure science, because that's just knowledge. That's all I'm saying. That's all I was saying.
And I think you're right. We should be saying natural science all the time. Listen, we just assume that, hey, this is the genre that we're in. Everyone knows we're talking about natural science, but you're right, because we got people coming in here saying, wow, science, and they're thinking computer science and social sciences. No, folks. We're talking about the nature of our reality, and that deals with natural science. there's a method associated with that phrase, natural science. It's called the scientific method, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, basically, yeah. I just saying I've just been hearing it a lot, and I think it's on both sides. I think it gets confusing. I just think that's the only reason I'm saying it. We need to be more specific. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
do, and I
agree with
agree. I'll try not to be lazy in the future because I haven't been doing that. I'll try to stick with natural science and stop assuming that everyone knows what I'm talking about. But you're right. That's a good point.
Well, it isn't. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with either of you when I say this, but it's not an assumption, or it doesn't need pointing out when the debate is about the Earth. So, in my humble opinion, there is absolutely no necessity to declare that we're talking about the physical and natural world when the subject matter is flat Earth debate. Obviously, we're talking about natural science. Obviously, we're not talking about the ones and zeros and understanding thereof. You know, that's a completely different area. To me, the banner above this show absolutely pigeonholes it unequivocally into natural science, whether you like it or not. I mean, am I wrong in that?
No, you're not wrong. But, we're going to get people coming in here trying to equivocate because that's what they do. That's what you do when you go between, computer and social sciences and natural science. Well, social science, we have experiments. Nah, you don't have experiments. You don't have experiments to follow the scientific method in natural science. So I do agree with you, Nathan. It's implicit. However, that you get a lot of people in here. It could be two choices. Number one, they're playing dumb, and two, they're equivocating and they don't know it.
I think that's kind of where I'm going. The reason I bring this up, I think it's to kind of put, it's like we had that on the last show where we put that up there, and he pretty much just dismissed it. And I think as long as we keep, even just hammering the same term and hammering the same information, say we're talking about natural science, that's what we're talking about, nothing else. And I think that would help, and just saying it over and over and over and over again, it'll eventually stick, hopefully.
So if you are watching this on Nathan Oakley 1980, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. However, if you're watching this on the Nathan Oakley channel, then this is the point that we bid you farewell. A massive, huge, enormous thank you to everybody who tuned in live and smashed the super chat for sharing and joining us in this live debate. Also, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this live debate possible. If you need something to keep you occupied after this live stream has ended, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Sorry about that. I just noticed that.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, so did Zach have a question?
Yeah, John. It's about electric potential and measuring its direction. Is it possible to measure, say, the electric potential in the air above my head, and then the electric potential maybe 150 miles away, and then compare if there is an angle there or not? Would that be possible?
Yeah, I'm sure it would be, right? I'm sure it would be. You can measure it, I suppose. What would be your how would you measure it?
That's the thing. I've been looking into how they measure it, and it's mostly mathematical.
Oh, they don't do any physical measure, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's all based on math and us already being on a sphere,
Oh.
And they do it by that.
Yeah, I'd have to take a look at it. It's not a problem to extrapolate as long as you're extrapolating off of something, a firm foundation, and as long as it's reasonable, right? Because I'm just not going to, shake everything that's mathematical, just put that everything that just hand wave dismiss that. I don't do that. As long as it's reasonable, each situation is distinct and got to be focused on. You can't just throw the baby out with the bathwater with that stuff. But it sounds like it could be done.
Yeah, well, what I'm going at is the electric potential has to follow the electric field.
Mhm.
And if the electric field is all flowing in one direction, and we could actually measure that in multiple places across the plane, we can pretty much measure the shape, I would think.
Oh, I see where you're going with that. Huh. That's very interesting.
I've been trying to look and see how they do it at higher altitudes and this and that. And from what I can gather is they measure it up to a certain point and then it's mathematically based after that.
Who are you saying they? Who's they? I'm sorry you cut out.
You've cut out, Zach. Oh, no, we lost half the panel.
Somebody come in and snipe him.
Think so.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's a shame. It's going to be a really short after show.
Nah, we could just sit here and talk.
Paul's still here. Flat on Earth's still here.
We can still talk. Is Anthony around?
No, but I might bring him in on Skype. Give me 30 seconds.
Okay.
How do you do it? How do you not add people to the call? Hey, Travis. I know, we've had a sniper come in. I just didn't spot it. You can't do it anymore on the new Skype. You can't just add somebody to the call.
Well, I tried to do that the other day, too. I was looking around and I couldn't find it.
Yeah, they've taken it out, so it's now on a PC. You get the Skype application, and it's just rubbish.
Did we get a sniper?
Yeah, I think we did. What I'll do, John, is I'll hang up the call on you and call back on Ballbusters.
Okay, yep, all right.
That's another annoying thing. You can't turn the ringer sounds off. The only thing I can do is mute the desk line. Super annoying.
Right. And another thing about Skype, you can't adjust the font on any of the messages. I'm getting old. I can't friggin' see the letters.
On the font?
I need a magnifying glass on in my hand to look at Skype. What the heck is going on with those guys?
They've just changed it all from a really complex piece of software to something really basic and simple. And now it's a PC app instead of a piece of software.
Man, get bad feedback from somebody.
Did Anthony join the call?
John's volume is horrible. I can barely hear him, and you're cutting out a little bit, Nathan, too. I don't know if it's me or you guys.
Now it's better.
No, it was Travis. He had his mic open.
Oh.
Hey, Travis, you better... I'm gonna wring his neck.
I know. I always forget. I'm sorry.
Yeah, when I first started doing Hangouts, I tell you what, right, from this side of the camera, with it off, I'd be absolutely spitting feathers when people left their mics open. Whereas after, 3-4 years of doing it, you just kind of get used to it and ignore it.
Now we got a train whistle in the background.
That was Paul.
Freaking cut in there.
Yeah, mic etiquette with the mute button.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I have a train runs behind my house, and I was about to speak early, and it just jumped all over me. So I had my back door open, so I just shut it. So I hope you wouldn't hear it. Real quick, John, just while I got you, I can talk to you.
What are you crunching now? Is that a Snickers bar?
That's Ranty doing it deliberately.
I'm doing it deliberately.
You're a bugger, Ranty. Hold on.
Yes.
Paul does actually want to ask something. Go ahead, Paul.
Since I got you, I'm actually talking to you. I know our Skype message was not sure which way to roll. I say not this Sunday, but next Sunday would be okay.
I told Paul said it. Would it be okay if we talked at some point? I said, yeah, how about next Sunday, 2 weeks from now? And of course it was tongue in cheek, but you can't get that over a text message, right? And he writes back like 20 minutes later, sounds good. Say, oh my God.
Honestly, I'm actually working after I get off here. I'm usually working, so I'm just looking at things very quickly, and I think that gets me in trouble. So, but
yeah,
okay.
Go ahead. Paul, do you want to talk right now, or you can always chat me?
I'd like to talk off air. They'd like to talk off air. I just didn't. I was just trying to find out what's convenient for you. That's all. I know. I don't know what your work schedule is, and I work in the afternoon, so it's hard for me sometimes. So I was just trying to work out the time.
I don't like work, so I don't do that anymore.
I got you. Okay. Well, I'll just Skype at you sometime, and when I have a moment. I just did it off air. I want to do it off air.
My favourite example of that is someone comes onto the debate and says to me, "I want to debate you." You go, "Okay then." They go, "No, I mean, at this particular time, at this particular location." And you go, "Well, you're here now. What's your claim?" You know.
Right.
I think some of the things I want to talk about is not really relevant to this debate, and I didn't want to bring some of the stuff up here, so that's why. I mean, it's nothing personal, nothing like that. I just, basically Christian to Christian. That's all. Talking Christian to Christian.
No problem. Just hit me up on Skype and just send a message. Say, "Hey, you around?" We'll get around to it.
Okay. Yeah, I got Skype on my phone, so I can do it on there too when I need to. So.
Yeah. Hey, Nathan, I was running into some old friends on in the comment section of the Ballbuster show. There's this guy running around. He had a crazy name, right? It was like Nathan Oakley as a liar or something. And I said, that's the first time I seen that. Wonder who that is. And they identified him. Red's Rhetoric, running around with sock accounts. That friggin' crayon muncher.
Oh, that's weird. I've got a point to add to that. Carry on.
Okay. And what was the other guy's name? Ron Burgundy. Hey, Ron Burgundy. I said, listen, he come up with this nonsensical argument, right? It was really Elmer Fudd-esque. And he's been around here for more than 2 years. And I said, listen, I'm tired of typing, more or less. It's getting late. Just come on the show and bring your argument, right? So, Ron Burgundy, we're waiting for you. I mean, this guy, he's something else. I can remember whipping him around by the short hairs couple years ago, but we want him on the show. So Ronnie, come out and play. Okay?
While you call out these Muppets, I mean, that's fine for anybody else to do, but for me, it's like, well, obviously I'm stuck here, not in a negative way, but I run a daily debate show, and I had called to post the alligator and stork video that I made about, I don't know, a year ago. So somebody in the comments was saying, "You won't debate me in X location." And it's like, oh, God, well, I've already addressed this like a year ago with Red Rhetoric. So I just went and dug out the video of the stork with the alligator. And basically, for anybody who hasn't seen this video, I might stick in the link. Probably not. But, oh, what have you done? Hold on a second. So sorry, just to summarise, you've got a stork and an alligator, and the stork is basically on the side of the pond, taunting the alligator to come. Oh, you don't want me to say this story, do you? Is it because I've said the word alligator? Is that what it is? I think because I've said the word alligator, it's got us scared. Anyway, so the stork and the A animal. Oh, have you figured that out as well? So basically, I'm not going to get to tell this story. I will put a link in the info box. But basically, the general gist is there's only two choices. Either come and debate me if you want to debate me, because I couldn't give a toss about debating you. I run a debate show. So if you want to debate me, there's a public link. You can. Or don't. You go away. In other words, I couldn't care less about coming and debating on your show, because I've done that, been there, and now I run a debate show. So if you want to debate me, you can. Or you can do the other thing. That's the only two options here.
Right. I mean, they say debate. Well, you're on a debate show. It's Flat Earth Debate. Come on in. If you have a cogent, coherent argument, and you act somewhat mature, you're going to get heard, right? Everyone's going to hear it. Now, if you're using the get out of incoherent jail free card, oh, Nathan's a bad guy, he's going to mute me and stuff. Well, guess what? If he's doing it unfairly, everyone's going to know it. It's not going to be a secret, right? So just come on the show and give your argument, right? The water's warm. No sharks. Thanks. Did we lose Zach?
One of those moments where my kid's making an absolute bucket load of noise and there's obviously dead air. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig out that stork in the alligator video if I can find it. Here we go. I found it. Perfect timing.
So we did lose Zach?
Yeah, he got sniped, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think I remember that video. Was it in reference to Reds? I think it was, if I wasn't mistaken. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was. So I could feel some dead air. Now, over the past like 3 days right here in Missouri, we've been getting some serious winds, man. I mean, things are blowing everywhere, right? A couple times I said, my house is built pretty darn good, but it started creaking a little bit. I'm sitting there, whoa. So I watched the weather last night, and they have what they call satellite picture. We all know it's not satellite, it's balloon picture. However, it showed if they would take the land away or the outline of the land that they had, if they'd take that away, you'd swear this thing was a hurricane, man, over Kansas. I was like, oh my, as soon as I seen it, I said, it looks like a hurricane. It had an eye. You can make out an eye. I'll tell you what, man. And I know they're getting blasted on the other side, of Kansas, like in Denver and the foothills and stuff. There has to be some serious blizzards going on the backside, going up through Nebraska and stuff.
Excellent filling of dead air. Right.
Wasn't it?
You bought me enough time to cue this video, so I'm going to pop you on mute and just play this video. It's only about 30 seconds long.
Okay.
Observe the mighty alligator as he stares with his cold gaze at the pathetic stork. Let's have a listen to what the stork is saying.
Your show's not fair. You should debate me on this show where it's more fair for me. You get your big mouth heard while I'm squawking. I'm on special treatment. I'm a special bitch.
Observe the mighty alligator as he stares back at the stork, knowing he will soon eat stork.
There we go.
Yeah, it's great, man. I remember that. Too funny. He will eat stalk. Yeah. Was that about your bitch?
Yes, that was about my bitch, correct. My bitch red rhetoric. But yeah, it's always the same. You know, some excuse and some moan about how my show's unfair and how I should be debating them. It's like, you don't seem to understand. I don't care if you want to debate me. You can debate me if you want to. So the reason I dug out that video is actually not for Red Rhetoric or Nathan is a Liar sock account. It was actually for somebody coming in saying I should be debating Fight the Flat Earth, or explaining that Fight the Flat Earth has made a video explaining how keen he is to debate me. It's like, why would you be so stupid as to make a video that declares that you want to debate somebody who runs a debate show and has a public link? It's like, oh God, if you're watching this and you're on Nathan Oakley 1980 channel, which you are, because that's where this is going out, feel free to go over to Craig, who I am not subscribed to and couldn't give two tosses about, and tell him you can debate Nathan, if he has indeed made a video about me and how much he wants to debate me. Tell him he can. Just has to click on a link.
That's right. It's free. Free, and anyone can join. I mean, this is that guy is an Elmer Fudd sophist to the core, man. So the debate's not going to last. It'll last about a minute, maybe two. And this debating thing, everyone, oh, let's debate here. Listen, every one of them is a shit show, right? Especially on that non sequitur. Boy, is that an appropriate name. I mean, isn't that ridiculous? They got people in the background waiting. The moderators aren't moderating, right? And there's a delay in between everyone speaks, so everyone talks over each other the whole show. I mean, they're a bunch of clowns. Yeah, you too, Steve McRae, and your little fairy Kyle, right? They were talking smack about me the other day. Someone told me, because I don't watch their nonsense unless it's, they got somebody on like Larry Krause and we're all made of stars. Friggin' idiot. They started talking. I heard my name. Somebody told me my name was on there. So they said, well, oh, yeah, it was Planer Walk. Got me on Discord. He goes, hey, they mentioned you on Non Sequitur. I want to debate you. Oh, my. Well, I'm on, the debate, Flat Earth debate. You know where I'm at. Just give a holler for crying out loud. But, I mean, it's a joke out there. Everyone sees it. Everyone that can fog a mirror, right, knows the score. So just come on over. Like I said, you're not going to get muted. Just act mature. If you got a coherent, cogent argument, you're going to be able to present it. Nathan's not going to do anything to you. Don't rumpus to hang out. Make a point, make a claim, support it, shut up. Don't go on some 10-minute monologue, right? Claim, support, stop. Claim, support, stop. Just a reasonable discussion. We're all adults. Yeah, this is an emotional topic, no doubt about it. Yeah. But if Nathan's unfair, like you all claim, right, everyone in the audience is going to see it. He's not high. He can't hide. They're going to say, Nathan, while he was giving an explanation, you muted him. Why'd you do that? Because it's going to compromise Nathan, right? It's going to compromise him, his integrity, his character, and the integrity of the show. So your little whiny excuses, oh, Nathan's a bad guy. I'm a snowflake. I'm a victim. That shit ain't flying, man. What do you think this is, Romper Room? Think you're talking to like 3 and 4-year-olds? We all know the score. You ain't hiding. Stop acting like friggin' 3rd grade playground and get your butts in here and support your spinning ball religion. I mean, we can support the flat earth. We've been doing it for 3 years. So come on in. The water's warm. No sharks. Thank you.
Yeah, well, just to clarify, there are definitely sharks here. I'm one of them. But still, the door is welcome and open to all, so if you want to join the debate, feel free to click the link in the info box below this video and join the panel to express your views on the shape of the Earth. If, however, you feel the need to drag me off to some other platform, then I assure you, that's not the reason I've started a debate show. I've started it so you can come here to debate me if you want to, and anybody else on the panel, and any opinion that is expressed here. All are welcome to challenge anything, and it will be if anybody's making claims. So with that, I'll say a massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for this after show, even though it was cut short by snipers. Well, not cut short, cut slightly quiet by snipers. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream for tuning in, hopefully smashing the super chat, maybe optimistic, we shall see, and of course for sharing the show. Be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!